everyone, and welcome back to the award-winning To Hull and Back podcast, proudly sponsored by Old Zoological Bar and Kingfisher in Hull. I'm your host, Nathaniel, and tonight I'm joined by Will and Joe to sort of transition from To Hull and Back to the Euros and what we've been debating before the episode started. I think we're going to call it To Berlin and Back rather than To Germany and Back. I've been outvoted on that one, and Will, quite appropriately, you've got your St. Pauli hat on again. They've done quite well, but we mentioned them last week, but we are going to start talking about a little bit more than just Hull City as we go into the summer. A few exciting things happened, and we'll mostly be going through the retained list of Hull City, the potential car crash sort of press conference Acun did in the week, and what our thoughts on the England squad should be. So, thanks for joining. How are you two guys doing tonight?
Good, mate. Very happy you've gone with To Berlin and Back there. It sounds infinitely better than anything else suggested. And I am prepared. I have every single player and every single contract at the football club that ever exists sat in front of me, ready to dissect the retained list later on. But we'll get into that when the time comes, I suppose.
Yeah. And Will, you're taking your hat off. I assume is it a bit too hot? It's lovely weather recently. Or have you just not bothered anymore? Will? Has Will frozen up? Have I frozen
No,
up?
I can see him moving. I just think he refuses to reply to you, Nathaniel.
Refuses to answer that. That's really good for a podcast, sort of audio platform. Well, exceptional work. That's off to a strong start. But we'll just talk about the press conference that Acun did in midweek. I think the communication that he's done has been really good. I think we're probably getting to the point now where he's being a little bit too open. I mean, with the Alarms, they never said a word to us, which was obviously bad. Acun has probably been criticised for just speaking his mind when some of these things should be behind closed doors. So I guess the main one was Ryan Allsop criticising him, saying that part of the reason Rossini was sacked was because he kept picking Allsop, especially also maybe not playing Ayo or Panda. So, Joe, thoughts on that sort of too much open communication, perhaps?
I will just address for audio listeners quickly. Will is having some technical difficulties hearing the other two, so you will hear from him at some point. And to answer your question, Nathaniel, look, I think something we were discussing before we went on air. It's too binary on social media. It's too black and white. People seem to think that you're either totally behind the owner, ready to back the new manager and agree with every single word that comes out of his mouth. And then on the other side, there's detest everything he's done in the last week, all of a sudden, Acun out, whatever. Whereas for most people, and when I say for most, I mean the vast, vast, vast majority, it's somewhere in the middle. Question the Rossini sacking at the time. Now he's explained himself a little bit, understand it a little bit more, but still don't fully agree with it. And then think that communication with the fans is a good thing, and having this openness is a positive because it comes from so few football owners like that. But equally, there is a point where you have to draw the line for me. And I think Acun coming out publicly and saying that Rossini and himself debated why Ryan Allsop was starting over Ivor Panda. At that point, when the owner's saying he was trying to influence team selection, well, he's not explicitly saying that, but that's a message it sends to some people. And to others, it means criticising one of his own players. Ultimately, he supports the club as well, or he claims to support the club, and it's all right holding those opinions if you think a player's out of form. But as the man who owns it, you can't voice those opinions publicly in the same way the likes of the three of us do.
Yeah,
So,
I think Acun's a football fan, isn't he? But he shouldn't say things football fans say.
so like just to be clear, I'm totally ready to back Tim Walter when he comes in. I imagine that's going to be confirmed at some point. And I'm ready to get behind whatever signings come in, and I'm still totally behind the owner. The majority of the things that he's done for this football club have been brilliant, but
Especially off the pitch as well.
yeah,
I think,
off
like
the,
we're saying,
off the
his
pitch,
football decisions may be a bit mixed. But off the
off the
pitch,
pitch is where he's shone. The ticket price is great, membership price is great, fan engagement's good. But then this past sort of 2 weeks has been, and pardon my French here, a PR shit show.
yeah,
And, from the original sacking of Rosinha to explaining himself a little bit, which sort of turned people on his side. And then the Allsop stuff, the questions and that he was getting asked were strange. There was
That's one way to put it.
Dangerous Mike, Billy Clark, Harry Vaughan's, George Best, Dangerous Mike getting sat down, and
Where
then
are those three strikers? What three strikers are we signing? I've already mentioned we want to sign Delap in Ohio. Those are the strikers. I didn't understand that right at all.
And then we've had, as of yesterday, and I'm sure we'll talk more about this when we get into the retained list, but Doc implying that he found out he was leaving the club via social media and the club releasing the list, which a similar thing happened to Tom Huddleston at the end of Acun's first season, but that was more Shotter going out and saying in his press conference, yeah, Tom Huddleston's going. Huddleston leaving the ground, getting wished well by fans waiting around after the game, then looking on social media and that's how he found out. So, when it happened to Alex Bruce, the Alams got slaughtered, but now it's someone else's job. And that's what I mean, where people are too, and I realise I'm rambling here and I will end it on this point, but that's where people are too, one or the other. You can have a foot in both camps and think that the way that if that is how Doc found out, then that's not a good way for Doc to have found out, and that's a mistake on whoever's responsible at the club, whether it's Acun, whether it's Tan, Mertan, Mustafa, whoever. Don't care who's responsible. If that's how Doc's found out, it's not the right way. And then it's also not a reason to crucify Acun either. So there just needs to be that sort of distinction between it doesn't have to be total support or total against. You can admire some things, but also critique things he's got wrong. End of ramble. I'm going to shut up and let Will speak now. He's connected.
Oh, here, Joe. Joe, though, thank you for saying Will had technical difficulties because I can't actually read the chat here because I'm on my phone. So, Will, all good?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. Would you
agree? Yeah. Would you agree with what Joe said? I mean, of course, Joe, you've got your Turkish flag behind you, so you're clearly pro-Acun, and Will, you must be anti-Acun.
I mean, I've got a Danish flag behind me, so I'm obviously completely against it. No, I agree with most of what Joe said, to be fair. It is starting to get annoying where at this point you can't have any nuance. You have to be either fully behind the owner or fully against the owner, regardless of your criticisms or your praise. I think for the most part, what Acun said on the live evening, for the most part, was fine. There was some stuff about Allsop is the issue. He shouldn't, as it's been said, he shouldn't be saying that sort of thing publicly. When you're the owner, it's easy for everyone to say on Twitter, "Oh well, he's only saying what we're all thinking." Yeah, but he's the owner. He can think that, but he shouldn't say it because of the position he's in. Even if he thinks it, there's a line you've got to draw there. And the issue that it creates, while you might agree or disagree, is if the owner's coming out with stuff like that, players and agents may look at the club and think, maybe I don't want to go that way just because of the way the owner's acting. That might be a minor thing in people's mind, but people can decide the stuff on those decisions. I think, to be honest, I don't think we needed the live evening from him. I think the statement he put out initially was enough. Was all because, like, say, even though I might have disagreed with his reasonings behind getting rid of him, that was all he needed to say, and then just move on.
I think the 45-minute, which is extremely comprehensive for an owner to be 45 minutes on Humberside as well.
That as well, yeah.
Because that's just a one-on-one with a journalist. You're not going to have any stupid questions in front of the fans trying to because when you're especially in front of the fans trying to justify yourself, defend yourself, it was on 45 minutes one-on-one to be more reasonable. That's enough. I'm happy to communicate that way. I think that would be one of the last ones we have like that, because the Allsop thing. Connolly as well was saying, he didn't say Connolly.
Yeah, Connolly, yeah. Again, if you're thinking that way, fine, but don't, as the owner, you shouldn't say that out loud.
Saying he was unfit and not sort of fully committed anymore. But the Allsop one, like Connolly had left at that point, or he would have been out of contract, and he's since been not retained, released even. Whereas Allsop, you're currently paying Allsop, even if he's going to leave, you can't say anything like that.
Well, that's an interesting point, actually, Nathaniel, about Allsop leaving, because we all thought going into this season it would be Allsop and Ivor Panda vying it out for that number one spot, and Matt Ingram would leave, and then you've got the young lads, you've got Cartwright, Lottatala, etc. 3 goalkeepers in the under-21s now, but I'm sure we'll talk about that. We'll talk about a lot later on. But now, does Tim Walter come in and I assume Panda's going to be number one, but then does he keep Ingram? Does he keep Allsop? Do they both go and Lottatala or Cartwright are number 2?
With what Acun said, he said that he didn't directly say it, but he suggested that one of the reasons he sacked is because he wouldn't drop Allsop. What if Walter comes in and is the same as Liam, thinks Panda isn't good enough and wants to play Allsop as a result?
And Acun doesn't see these players day in, day out. The coaching staff do. So Panda might have, struggled in training, or something might have been going on externally that Rossini had to be aware of because he's the manager and he wanted to keep him out of the limelight, whether it was just settling him in or whatever. Rossini will have his reasons, and I'm sure in time they will all come out. But Acun, implying that and suggesting that he was trying to have an influence over team selection, it's not a good look.
I'm very conflicted about this though, because it was suggested under the Lambs actually, and it twice did happen with Henriksen, because he had one extra game and then we would have to pay more, I believe. Same with the Lewis Potter situation. Until that contract situation was dealt with, Lewis Potter wasn't playing. You think, Acun, if he wants to pick the team, then we would have actually seen Panda play. But he didn't, implying that actually Acun does let the manager pick the team, but isn't happy about it, which is why he sacked him. But you're quite right. It wouldn't really make any sense if he's then not going to impact the team selection because of Walter. Is he Volta or Walter? I don't know. I assume Volta. Must be. Tim. If Tim comes in and starts playing Allsop, then yeah, you're right. It's a really good situation. But was it really a car crash? I think Allsop, that's not great. I think everything else though.
I think the crowd. I'll be honest. I think the crowd said more ridiculous things than Acun did.
Oh yeah. 100%.
That isn't saying the entire crowd was saying stupid things. It's just there was more stupid things that came out of the crowd.
Just quickly, Will, wasn't there a bit about Ohio as well, and Acun been disappointed that he wasn't playing? and that sort of
Yeah.
links into point.
It's basically Billy Clark. Yeah. It was something along those lines.
That one's reasonable though. I can comprehend that, especially as mind you. But then Acun also did say he was happy to sign Sharp, and it didn't really work out. Sometimes that's okay, but yeah, generally these things should be kept indoors. And do we think Acun's the owner, so he can decide? But I'd like to think Tan is saying we really shouldn't do that again because of the response.
Well,
I wouldn't be happy to see another one.
I think Tan spent. I think Tan spent that evening pulling his own hair out, to be honest, and downing shots of straight vodka in the back of the room whilst
it's always
everything unfolded in front of him.
Cost better. He's done a lot of the reputation with a lot of the other clubs as well, for sure. Tan's a big part of that. Imagine sacking with senior and then the way he's talked about such players, I think our reputation, which I think was the most important part of the most exciting part of the club at the moment, is the reputation for attracting players. I think it will, not irreparably, but I think it will have been damaged this week.
Yeah.
Was there anything else?
I will say it was a good statement as well by Leon for the LMA. It was a nice, classy statement, obviously regarding his time with City. It was nice to read, and obviously he's been linked with clubs already. Obviously, apparently he turned down the Plymouth job, and he's already been linked with this Sunderland job again as well. I know he's not the favourite for that, but he's been linked with it now, so he's already getting those chances already being taken his way, and I think he'll be back. We'll see him at the MKM again soon in the away dugout.
Right. What do we think?
In a year, if he has another good
Too
season
early.
in the Championship,
Too early.
he'll be at Brighton. Brighton are the sort of trendy club that would have a young and up-and-coming manager like Rossini, but they've sacked Zerbi because they've finished 10th this season. So they expect a bit better than a Championship manager to come in as the Zerbi, so they're just going to go to the top job or a bigger club. So yeah, I think they'll be looking for someone else. Graham Potter, he's so out of a job. Maybe he'll just go back to Brighton.
No, I don't think Brighton fans want that, to be honest.
What I can tell on Twitter, Brighton are not happy with anything at the moment. It seems a bit of a surprise. They'd be happy with how they're doing. Very dodgy week and a bit, 2 weeks, but
just going back quickly. Can we talk about some of the questions from the audience, because they were in the last event Acun did like that. I was in attendance. My question was, Acun, of course, one of the first things you did when you took over the club was replace Grant McCann with Shota Arveladze. What in particular drew you to him? And Acun gave a response, and it was pot luck that I got to ask that question, to be honest, because a couple of older ladies shouted at Rob Palmer. He's had his hand up. Give him a question. That was the final question, and what can I say? I smashed it. Better than what came before me. I'm a member for both Hull City and Hull FC.
I was about to say that. At least there was no FC questions this time.
Can I have a joint
worst Hull City moments ever?
And you could tell in the room, Acun, he's just sort of looked at Tan and thought, why the hell am I doing this? But there were less of that and more, why isn't the under-21s assistant manager playing? And why, for reference, in case you don't know, the under-21s assistant manager is Billy Clark. And what's happened to Harry Vaughan? I thought he was ace. He reminded me of George Best. And
ace for 5 games at the end of the last season when all our wingers were injured.
George Best, Nathaniel.
We signed Philogene and Zaruri and players like that in the Premier League this season. And we took out Vaughan.
As I put in our group chat, I was the first to tell Harry about that. And to put it one way, the lad was surprised Very surprised.
What shock!
What have I missed any there?
I mean, there was a couple of decent questions, obviously, in there as well. It's easy to point out the bad ones. Like I said, at least there was nothing as stupid as that FC City joint question. There was that other time.
The academy one was interesting, I thought, because Acun said something along the lines of, like, well, the question, the point of the crux of the question was really the academy went on a run near like the midway point of the season where they conceded 54 goals in 9 games for the 21s. What's the situation? And Acun sort of interpreted that as sort of, well, because we're signing better players, it's going to mean, where is it? So Acun says because of a lack of investment under the Alams, our academy improved due to game time. He says they won't get as much of a chance now because we're signing better players. However, they're working on better talent systems to allow them to shine.
I think that seems a way of saying we're going to send them all to Maribor.
Yeah, Fenerbahce or wherever.
I mean, I'm not sure how well, just to name one of the players, like, I'm not sure how well Owen Foster will take to, the likes of Owen Foster will take to life in Slovenia, because it's not like Woody and Javo going over to Ireland, is it? It's further from home, and it's quite a culture change.
Have I missed something? What? Maribor?
Acun's buying another club.
Are we? Oh, is that? I did see. Is that who we're buying?
You were too busy just watching pitch footage of Ryan Longman, weren't you, since the season's over?
Fortnite and Bridgerton season 3, and yeah.
Good on Ryan.
I've missed that. He might get a mention later. He's already got a mention. Yeah, I've like Inception. He's in your mind so much because I've mentioned. I don't have to mention Longman anymore. You just do it for me. This is incredible stuff. But yeah, well, I think it's still quite important to have, a good academy, especially for like selling them FFP reasons with the money, that we're spending, without having to have them in the first team. It's fine to not have them in the first team, but you still need a good academy. Other reasons, there's more than just because how many academy players at any club actually go and play for the teams? You need academies everywhere to just have better players for the whole system. So, yeah.
Out of the current crop of academy players at the minute, and I get on with a fair few of them, I think Rocco and Stan are the only two who have a realistic, at this moment in time, have a realistic shot of playing for City for the next, consistently, regularly, starting games for the next 5-10 years.
Is that just nepotism because of the names of them?
Well,
I mean, no, but
it's not nepotism in the case of.
I think it buys a little bit leeway, I suppose.
But the name only gets you so far. Stan Ashby won't have signed a professional contract at 17 just because he's an Ashby. In the same way that, like, the Barnby kids didn't sign a professional contract at 8 with City just because their surnames are Barnby. Yes, it helps.
8, it's a bit different, but maybe.
Yes, the name helps you, but you've still got to be good players, and Rocco and Stan are that.
It's also not just the name, but the trust that because of who they're raised by, they're more likely to have the correct values and regimen because they have someone close to who knows what they're doing, right? That must also be a part of it, which is less nepotism and more just passing on.
Like Rocco's brother's the captain. Of course, that's going to have some influence. And I nearly said Ian's dad then. And Stan's dad is possibly definitely one of, if not the most recognisable name associated with Hull City from the early 2000s.
Or in our history, I'd say, going up.
Yeah, absolutely. But they're still good players in their own right without that. And I suppose this brings us on a bit to the retained list, really. Ollie Green leaving from the academy. That's gutting. That's because a League Two club could do a lot worse than Ollie Green, but it's just the fact of had he had a bigger opportunity to impress under Grant, then things could be a bit different. And had he not been out on loan at York, chances are he would have played in that FA Cup game against Birmingham, the replay, and that could have changed the course of his time of the remaining of his contract at City. But I could really. I got on real well with Ollie, but this is going off no information whatsoever. A team like Donny, and Grant rated him very highly when he was here, could do a hell of a lot worse than Ollie Green, and he won't be short of offers. And on a similar note, Raj, I got on so well with him as well. It's a shame to see him go because he had a difficult year with injuries, just impact ones in training on his ankle, just battling for balls in training. And I would have loved to have seen him get another year or two, but that's football sometimes.
So 5 permanent players have left. We of course know that all of the loans have gone, but I guess we'll just go through these 5. Cyrus Christie, I think we probably all agree. First season incredible, got an injury. Second season, because of the injury, lost more than a few yards of pace. And a League One or a low Championship club would very much like to have him. I just think with us, with how well Cole's done, how Slater's actually been playing right back as well, we weren't going to renew his contract on what presumably would have been higher wages than Son, because the last club he was at was the Premier Club before we got him on a free. So not too displeased to see him go, I assume. Yeah, no complaints. Christie, yeah,
no, not really.
For
not really, no.
Season. Ant predicted him to be player of the year this year, but that wasn't to be. Adama Traore, equally, he's had a few good moments, but I think the thing we'll remember most about Adama Traore is that horrible mistake.
His goal against Stoke City.
We can do much better than him. Tufan, Carvalho, Umura, all attacking midfielders, Twine, better attacking midfielders.
I think it's interesting how you put Twine and Carvalho in there when one left us in January and one I think it's very unlikely we keep.
Yeah. But I mean, clearly they are better attacking midfielders than Traore. He's fifth best we've had in that position this season. But for him to go is not shocking either.
Yeah. I'll be honest, Nathaniel, with your audio tonight, I'm struggling to catch some of what you're saying, and I think Will's in the same boat.
Traore gone, not bad.
Fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Connolly, a bit unfortunate, but
Will, talk us through the Angus Gunn collision.
Oh, well, I don't like seeing Leeds United win. I thought it was hilariously glorious karma to see Angus Gunn have such a shit time against Leeds United after what he did to Aaron Connolly personally. Because that man's probably... I mean, Aaron Connolly hasn't helped himself maybe off the field, but he definitely wasn't helped by that Harold Schumacher recreation.
That ended his whole City career, really, didn't it?
Pretty much.
I think when he's been fit, I think for a low Championship team, he'd probably do quite well. But a bit
Intrigued as
concerning
to
that,
where Connolly will go, actually.
I
'Cause-
guess I wouldn't be shocked if it's like Plymouth or someone, because maybe he wants to go back down to Brighton or near there.
Plymouth is quite some way from Brighton.
Well, I guess down south. Down south then.
The South's all just one place.
Portsmouth. Portsmouth
That-
are in the Championship.
That's still quite some way from Brighton.
Not as bad.
It's not as bad, but
It's not in Scotland, is it? What else was I going to say? Connolly? Goals. Oh, we have no strikers. That's the most concerning thing. We have 0 strikers.
Hey, Sellers, Fleming, and
Technically, we still have Oscar.
We do have an option to recall him, and we've talked about this all throughout the season at certain points. But
I've been saying all season he'll never play for us again.
So have I.
I think it's simple. If we can get Delap, we won't get Oscar. If we just get a Hayo and Oscar, Oscar's better, but they're essentially a similar sort of player. Strong, awful sort of technical player, scores scrappy goals. You don't need 2 of those, do you? You need players.
I think
that can do
Ohio's
goals.
a bit more of a presser than Oscar is, and he fits the Delap mould better than Oscar does. But the new manager will want different things, possibly. He might see a way that he can incorporate Oscar into that system and start week in, week out.
Yeah. The problem is that he will probably want to see Oscar in training, so we'll recall him. I imagine it won't be free to recall Oscar, so if we recall him, we basically have to keep him. Otherwise, you may have just let him stay in Brazil and then let them sign him. So, I don't know. But if I was a new, manager coming into England, once you want players who've done it before, and Oscar's done it, and you don't think there's still more we can have out of that player. We've got one who's done it before, and I can get the best out of him. Take the chance on recalling him if we don't have any other strikers. So I think actually that would make quite a lot of sense. I hope you can hear me, but I really have no idea.
Just about.
Just
For anyone listening on audio, we do massively apologise for Nathaniel's audio quality tonight.
Because for some reason he chose to do it on his phone this week.
I don't have a laptop.
Buy a laptop.
I will.
That was
England.
nice and clear.
England.
Talk at that assertive level for the rest of the podcast, and it'll be just like normal.
Shall we do our England lineups?
No, we
for
haven't
the
finished
Euros.
yet.
Oh, fine.
We haven't even talked about Doherty, have we?
Doherty. Thoughts on Doherty?
It's a bloody shame.
It is.
Yes.
It's a shame.
Sad to see go. I hope this is better.
Well, what's the verdict? I think you've been struggling to hear Nathaniel more than I have.
It's never better when Nathaniel's speaking.
Doc, yeah. What a servant, man.
Yeah, it has been such a shame to see him go kind of go. He ain't gone out with a whimper because that sounds wrong. It's just like his career kind of fizzled out really with City, just due to the players who were brought in to replace him. But it was fantastic in League One. It was good when we first came up to the Championship. He always gave 100% every game, no matter what. And he will be, I think he, as a character, he was probably very, very well liked around the dressing room, and I think he'll be someone who'll be missed, who deserves to play more regularly somewhere else.
Goal of the season. Goal of the season last season.
Yeah. That Blackpool one, wasn't it?
Yes.
7 goals in 144 and 142 appearances. City's press release says. Who else have we released? That Robson and Colville.
Billy Brock.
Oh yeah, Sharp's gone. Oh well.
Vaughan
Ah.
Colville's an interesting one because I remember he played those first couple of games of that season. Looked okay and got injured, and we never saw him again in the first team.
We saw him against Doncaster for a little bit.
I don't know if that counts.
No, we all forgot
No.
again. And I think it was always likely he'd leave at the end of this contract, considering it was only. They only took his option this time last year, and we then he played one first team game this season. So yeah, and then Robbo. It's a shame it didn't work out for him, but if we're looking at replacements, all we've got to do is read down to the academy section on the club statement, where already there's Owen Foster in the under-21s. And then Callum Yam, as was confirmed when he signed in January, he has become a professional now. Plus George Wilson getting a pro, which means there are 3 goalkeepers in the under-21s for next season. And at the moment, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 goalkeepers as professionals.
I mean, we're never going to probably have a lack of them by the sounds of things if we have injuries.
I thought I'll let you into my mind here and the inner workings of it, thinking about academy stuff. I thought George Wilson would get a professional contract at the start of the season because Owen Foster was the only academy goalkeeper. So I thought it was only logical for George Wilson to get one. Then we signed Callum Yam, and I thought, right, that's George not getting one. And it came out that alongside Rocco signing his professional in, was it December? And Callum signing George has also got a pro, along with Jaden Chibanga and Paul Iggulden from the 18s.
I'm in a different room. Is this any better? I don't know. Will, why are you doing a rude sound at me or a gesture?
Anyway, yeah. Why do you need 8 cubes on the payroll? That feels like an oversight.
It feels like a lot excessive. Plus, there's actually Howard already in the 18s, and they'll have another one at least come up as the new set of first-year scholars. So
it's ridiculous.
And considering that only one of them can play, and being a goalkeeper is the hardest position to break through in, because every team has their number 1, their established number 2, and in most cases an established number 3 as well. Having 8 of them, and 6 of them all being in their late teens or early 20s.
Yeah,
it's
you can get through a season with 1. To be honest, it's rare for keepers to not play. So that 8 is ridiculous.
It's rare for one to get injured or suspended, isn't it? I know we had our all-stop debacle against Bristol City earlier this year, but I mean, he missed what, 1 game?
You can't risk having just 1 keeper. That's just being silly.
3 is fine. You just need 3. I mean, you can get an emergency loan like some clubs do.
Now we've got double that and a bit more.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, releases wise, for the most part, like I said, for the most part, I couldn't understand most of them, but there's one or two you're a bit upset about. But again, understandable to a point. It's a shame. It's always a shame to see players leave the club, whoever they are.
I didn't expect any of them to stay, but it's still a shame, especially for someone like Doherty, who's been such a good servant to the club. Like 4 years, that's a long time now in football.
In modern football, yeah.
In modern football, to get a season shy of halfway to a testimonial is an eternity.
I think they're going to need to start making testimonial 5 years at this point.
Well, Fleming's the closest for us. He made his debut 17-18.
That's not happening.
Don't think so. On that, do I have permission to use this piece of research I have
But
done?
it depends what the research is, Joe.
It
If
is
it's on topic, then yes.
It is our list of expiring contracts.
Oh, go on then. Yeah, sure.
Well, this could be interesting.
Is this for next season? Yeah.
This is for the end of next season.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Alsop, 1 year option.
Go.
Uriel Theli, no option.
Still don't believe he's real.
He's on FIFA. He's on FIFA. He's great on FIFA. His dribbling stats are insane.
Alex Hunter was on FIFA. That don't mean he was a real person.
He's real in here.
Well, you've breathed him in.
No, he's in my heart because I enjoyed those games.
Well, you want to get him out of there? That could be bad for his speculation.
Go on, Joe. Go
on. Then what I assume will be a 1 year with an option, because that's how academy contracts usually work. Jaden Chibanga, Oscar with no option. Kyle Fanning, upon accepting his new contract that he's been offered, that will, I imagine, be a year plus an option. Brandon Fleming plus an option. Owen Foster plus an option. Sincere Hall, if he accepts it, I assume will be a year plus an option. Paul Iggulden, the same as Jaden Chibanga, first year pro, it's going to be a year plus an option. Ingram plus an option. Will Jarvis plus an option. Callum Jones plus an option. Jake Leake without an option. Jack Leckie, if he accepts the contract, with an option. Jason Lakilo with an option.
Yuck.
Timothy Lotatala with an option. Ryan Longman with an option. Jevon Mills without an option. Tom Nixon without an option. Henry Sandat with an option. Tyrell Sellers-Fleming with an option. Jean-Michael Seri without an option.
Well, it'll be 33 at that point, won't he? So
Durkan Skinnick with an option. Alfie Taylor with an option. Nathan Tinsdale, if he accepts the contract.
Who are these people?
With an option.
Academy
I've
players.
never heard of all of these.
Ozan Tufan with an option.
10-year contract.
Ryan Woods with an option.
20-year contract.
Callum Yam with an option. George Wilson with an option. And Harry Wood without an option.
I don't think I ever need to hear the word option ever again.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a word anymore.
I think we need to implement a rule where you're not allowed to. Next time you say, "Can I use this for search?" I'm going to say no.
From the man who brings us the combined 11s every week.
Yeah, well, true. I do have to read those out. I mean, that sounds relatively good to me, though. Actually, that a lot of those are academy players.
All the first teamers, apart from Seri and Tufan.
So, right, to whittle it down to first teamers, it's Alsop, Oscar, Fleming, Ingram, Jarvis, maybe, Lotatala, Lakilo, Longman, Seri, Cynic, Tufan, Woods and Wood.
So, like I said, Terry and 2 fan then, out of all of them,
Pretty
really.
much. Even like Cynic, we wouldn't.
Actually,
really
on Cynic, that was interesting at the evening where one of the reasons he was upset was because he wasn't, Acun was annoyed because he wasn't playing Cynic enough. I
I could
mean,
have sworn
The
he said the
man
same
did
thing
his-
last year.
the man got injured getting out of bed.
The man did his knee ligaments getting out of bed. It's
Look at this comment from Tiger Tube. Presume Cynic's option is for 5 years
Beautiful man.
rather than just the one. A 5-year option on Cynic's. Maybe. They never say, did they? They never say, just, it's an option.
They always say plus the option of an extra year or an additional year. So,
Yeah.
so we would only stay if we stayed. Oh, that's interesting.
I wouldn't be.
I've got
concerned,
2026 as well if you want them.
No, thank you.
Okay, fine.
That's my mum commenting in. Hi, Mum. Hope you're having a nice time. So you can blame my mum for. That laptop going.
Right, I think this is where we stop talking about Hull City. We just go on to rambling so people can leave.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
I
we've still
apologise
got
for my
people.
audio tonight as well.
Well, we've still got people. Should we do our England squads?
Yeah,
Because that might be something interesting.
Well, I already know who's going to be in Nathaniel's.
No, you don't. That's the problem. You don't know who's going to be in.
I bet I can name a player who's going to be in your England squad.
Well, you're just going to say Harry Kane, aren't you?
Harry Kane.
No, actually, that's the thing that I would get lynched for. I haven't included Kane because if we include Kane, we definitely won't win the tournament because he's cursed. He's so unbearably cursed. They finished 3rd, Bayern Munich, behind Stuttgart.
They would have been worse without him.
From a logical point of view, Kane's actually done incredibly well. It's just everyone else around him. He's had an off season.
And you can't really look past the completely unbeaten Bayern never losing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's do our. Let's each do sort of the positions. So if we each say our 3 goalkeepers, we have discussion perhaps. So I imagine you're picking 3 keepers. That's sort of what you have to do.
Yeah, don't need any more than 3.
I think we've probably got all this similar. Will, keepers?
My 3 are Pickford, Pope, and Ramsdale.
Yeah, I've got 2 of those. Joe?
I don't think he'll pick Pope by virtue of the fact he's been injured most of the season.
I'll say I'm going to word it now. My team is who I think should go, not who. I'm not trying to do a bit of. I wonder who. I'll try and put into who Southgate might pick. No, I'm picking who I would take.
I've done a bit of both here, and
Same.
I don't think Pope will go, even though he hasn't played most of the season. But I think Gareth Southgate's logic will be Ramsdale will go, even though he hasn't played most of the season. So I've gone for Pickford, Ramsdale, and Sam Johnston.
Sam Johnston? Where's Johnston at the moment? I
Crystal
forget.
Palace.
Crystal Palace. Yeah, I've gone for Trafford as my 3rd keeper. Just thinking that the 3rd keeper never plays, I want to give it to a young keeper for the experience.
I also nearly picked James Trafford, and then I thought he's barely played for Burnley these last few weeks, and he's been dropped about Muric, who was dropping clangers, and he still couldn't get back in the side.
The problem with Trafford is that he's been bad, but it's just because he's young and he probably won't play. Because even if there's an unlikely injury, Ramsdale will play. So it's a bit pointless. Pickford will start, won't he? And he should start.
Oh, yeah. For me, I'd actually personally start Pope, but not be Pickford. I can't really have a go at Pickford for England, to be fair.
Yeah, Pickford's done a very good job. Left back, I think, is probably our most problem position because Shaw has done very well, but he's injured. And Chilwell, who is pretty much the only left back in the Premier League who's English, I think is pretty poor every time I watch him play. So what do we do at left back?
Well, I've just put down my list of defenders, but I'm looking at it now, and the only actual left back in my squad, there's only one in the entire squad, and it's Chilwell. Because Luke Shaw's injured for a start, so Luke Shaw's unlikely to be there at all. And I've got Trippier, so there's your answer for a right back, who can also play left back. But left backs has been out. Defence as a whole has always been our weak issue, but left back in particular has been even more so because of, like I said, Chilwell being injured, Shaw being injured, having to play Trippier there. It's been always an awkward one.
Ashley Young at one of the
Yeah.
Gosh. I mean, I've gone Chilwell because you sort of have to. The one... So I didn't actually put Longman in. And I wouldn't actually want him to play for us. But just in order to demonstrate that left back is an issue for us, I've looked at the second highest rated English left back in the Premier League this season, and it's Luton's Alfie Doherty, which implies just how screwed we are in that position. I wouldn't want him to play for me at the Euros, but I think I'm just putting him in to just demonstrate that point. Although he's had some good assists this season, I guess, but he plays for Luton. No disrespect. And then, yeah, Tim says Doherty at left back. Hopefully not. Centre backs?
Sorry, I've just noticed I've missed someone out. Horrifically bad choice that I've missed someone out of my squad. I've got a few centre backs listed down. They can play. Some of them can play elsewhere, but I've got Gay at Palace. I've got Tomori from Milan.
Nice.
I've got Stones, obviously, from Man City, and I've picked also Bramford from Everton.
3 of those I don't have.
Sorry, I've also got Slabhead.
Nice. Maguire will go, won't he?
Oh, wait, I've just realised I've got another one. I've just picked centre backs. I've also got Ezri Konsa from Villa.
Yeah, I've got Konsa, Maguire, Stones, Gomez because he can play across back 4.
I didn't think of that. He can play left back. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't have Tomori because no matter how good he is, there's no point saying Tomori because you're just setting himself up for anger because he won't get picked. I forgot about Branthwaite, and I think I've only gone 3 centre backs because boring. I'd rather pick 9 wingers. So it'll probably be Maguire and Stones.
Yeah, I think this brings us on to right backs a bit as well. I've gone Stones, Tomori, Branthwaite. Levi Colwell's been in squads recently, but he's not really played for Chelsea too.
Set the world alight, has he?
So I'm not sure whether I'd rather him or Gay or Konsa. So one of those 3 I'm going to fence it. And then it's the right back conundrum, innit? What do you do with... Well, and then there's Kyle Walker.
I personally don't think there's a conundrum at all at right back. I think there's only one person you can pick, and it's Kyle Walker.
But then and that's where I mean Walker would be another centre back option, and that's why because when Southgate goes to a 3 against anyone half decent and stops playing,
I'm picking my team based on what I want. I don't give a sod what Gareth wants.
Yeah, Walker will play. He's just won his 4th Premier League in a row with Man City. He will be at right back. He's got the pace and the experience. You can trust him. He will. He is almost. Well, he's what 4th name on the team sheet, something like that. Roughly there. He's a very good player.
Ooh. Yeah, I've popped Trent in there, but whether he'd be midfield, he is a right back by trade. So that's why I've put him in there, but I think it is more likely he plays in midfield. Plus, Rico Lewis. He's been in squads recently. It's cover either side.
I don't hate Rico Lewis, but let's be brutally honest, he would not be in the England squad if he wasn't playing for Man City.
Yes, that is very true.
I forgot about Trent. Trent's not in my squad.
I didn't forget about Trent, and he still didn't get in my squad.
Wow.
Well, he's not playing it right back over Walker, and I don't. No matter how good he might be in some friendlies or in some minnows, I wouldn't trust him in a tournament at centre midfield. So he's not in.
I think we've got better options who are by trade central midfielders than playing a makeshift central midfielder in central midfield, because we've got
Unless
like
he plays,
Bellingham.
unless he plays 2 worldy games in the warm-up games, I wouldn't trust him. There. So no.
Who are the warm-up games?
It's Bosnia, isn't it, and Iceland?
Iceland and I can't remember the other one. Maybe Bosnia.
Sure, it's Bosnia. Yeah.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know it's Iceland's one of them.
So it'd be nice to get one over them again. We beat them twice in the one of the last Nations Leagues. But, I think those are decent friendlies because they're solid teams, but
I wouldn't say Bosnia are a solid team. They're a
playoff.
basket case, I think. Oh, I got that mixed up.
Harsh.
I'm getting it mixed up. I'm getting it mixed up with Bulgaria. Forget it.
Yes, Bulgaria are garbage. Bosnia are poor, but they have a few players. Tyneside Tiger says you're not allowed to pick Greaves. Which Hull City player would you pick if you had to pick a Hull City player in the lineup? That's interesting. Well, Ryan Longman. Oh, there we go. Joe? That's a good question, Tyneside Tiger. Joe,
I'm not allowed to pick Greaves. So
I'm not sure why you're not allowed to pick Greaves. I think you can pick
because it's the obvious choice.
So I'm gonna pick. Who am I gonna pick actually?
We haven't got any midfielders, I think. So.
But the obvious ones, the other obvious ones, Philogene, in it. But we don't. England don't. Well, England have got enough wingers.
Is Giles or Jacob? Is Jacob better than Chilwell?
Oh, I was gonna just think. Well, actually, no, I wasn't going to ignore it.
Louis Coyle, left back cover.
Yeah, Coyle at left back in the Euros against Mbappe, he'd get murdered.
No, he would not.
Coyle cannot run. He cannot run.
What do you mean, Louis Coyle can't run?
I'm sorry. This again. It happened last time. It's happened again. Alfie Jones erasure once more.
I just point out that we've got John Stones and Tamori and Slab already
Can I
there.
just say, we go on about our great defenders, but we couldn't defend for Toffee this year. Makes me think. You know?
No, really. Can we just get onto the midfield now?
Yeah, let's go on to the midfield. It's the third. Well, so Rice and Bellingham. Yeah.
Yes.
The question is, who's the third midfielder?
Well,
it's Rice and Bellingham.
We don't know who's the third midfielder. We're just going to list all the players we have in the squad, are we?
Well, true, but that's the interesting bit. Yeah, but we've all got Rice and Bellingham. Who are the other 2 or 3 we picked?
Who are the other midfielders I've got? Well, I wasn't sure who to put down as a midfielder and who to put down as an attacker. So I've mixed it up a little bit. So some of these might actually be more attacking. So I've got Bellingham, Rice, Foden, obviously. Cole Palmer, obviously.
Nice.
Cole
Palmer. Harvey Elliott I've gone for. It's a little left field.
Ooh.
I think he's done very well in Liverpool. He's a little left field, and also he's better than having Jordan Henderson in. James Maddison is in there. He's gone off the ball recently. It was either going to be him or Kobe Mainoo. I couldn't decide between the two, and I picked him instead, just because he's just got a little bit more experience. And finally, one who should be in the England squad but never is for the same reason Tamari is, Ruben Loftus-Cheek. AC Milan as well.
That's a really good show.
He's had a good season at AC Milan, while AC Milan themselves haven't had the greatest season. He's had a good season, as has Tamari. And they are just ignored by Southgate because he can't be asked to travel to Italy because he's a dickhead.
Travel to Ajax.
Same with another shout there, going back into the defensive. I mean, he hasn't played for England for a while, but he's been really good since he went to Roma, and that's Chris Smalling, yeah. I mean, I haven't seen enough of him to say certain, but apparently from what I've heard, he's been very good since he went to Roma. But he's another one who's not going to get another call up because Southgate just refuses to play any most people who don't play in England.
Like the only English player who plays outside of England that he knows is two.
There's two.
Bellingham and Jordan Henderson.
And Harry Kane.
Oh shit!
Thank goodness that the rule doesn't extend to Bellingham and Kane, or we would be cooked. Because I mean, we'd have no hope without them. So fortunately, if he can do it for them, why can't he just do it for other players?
Anyway, what's your midfield?
I've gone.
Go on, Joe.
I've gone. Well, I initially went Rice, Bellingham, Gallagher, Mainu, Foden, and then because Gareth will take him, Jordan Henderson. However, Will,
No.
Your Ruben Loftus cheat shout is superb, so I'm switching those.
You've changed it. Thank Christ.
I'm equally prejudiced against Serie A players, so I've gone the exact same. I've gone Rice, Bellingham, Gallagher, because I think he can do a few roles. He's done okay for Chelsea captain, so I guess he's useful. Mainu maybe won't play. Good to have him there. Good player. Foden, Palmer, and I think again Maddison has dropped off. Crystal Palace are going strong, so I've gone Eze.
Oh well, he's in my attackers. Eze, he's one of those who've got those on attacker. Speaking of Palace, I really wanted to, but I knew I couldn't because it's too early. I really wanted to be Darren Wharton, because he's having a good time there, but it's a bit too early for him.
If you're going to pick a young English midfielder, it'd be Mainu, wouldn't it? Not Wharton.
Yeah, probably as well. I think that he's one who might appear in the next qualifying campaign, personally.
He was too young, and then he was so good he was in the team. So I think if Mainu starts next season strongly as well, he'll be in, won't he? And good on him. It's just
Mainu's another one. Mainu's another one for me. Who I like him. I think he's a good player, but I do not think he'd be in that England squad if he didn't play for Man U.
That's absolutely correct. There is massive sort of big club bias in everything.
Equally, though, sometimes I do think, well, the players at the top clubs know how to win, and they are under
not
more
Man United.
Man United aren't a top club.
Of course, they're a top club, and that is partly why these sort of players get in. But I
guarantee you, Marcus Rashford gets picked by Gareth, even though he's done absolutely zero this season.
Yeah, I think it's so the. I mean, Calvin Phillips has done so poorly that I don't think he'll be in. I'm 50-50 on Henderson being in there.
You're 50-50. I'm 100% zero.
He shouldn't be there.
He should not be there, full stop.
I mean, I'm 50-50 on whether Southgate will pick him. I hope he does.
Oh, no, I'm not. I fully believe he'll pick him.
He will absolutely pick him. Well,
he's a good influence on the dressing room.
I like what Jordan brings to the dressing room. He's a phenomenal character in there. He really is.
He just needs. That's the problem with Henderson. Is like if he feels that if he feels and the players feel that he's a good influence on the dressing room and he's good to have around the team, take him as a member of fucking staff. Like when Beckham went with the England squad back in 2010, he didn't get picked by Capello, but Capello brought him along anyway as a member of his staff. Just do the same with Henderson. If you're that worried about losing his mentality around the players, take him as a member of staff so he'll still be around the players. It's just nonsensical.
Anyway, wingers.
Yeah.
Wingers. I've gone Saka, Palmer, Bowen, and Gordon.
See, this is where I was different because I put Palmer in my midfield. I've got my midfield attack can be easily
interchanged. You can play Foden wide if you really want to, but he's much better central.
I think he's going to have to play. I think he's going to have to play wide purely because of who's going to be playing central.
Yeah.
Well, Rice, Bellingham, and Henderson.
Not in my team.
Well, in Gareth,
I would have Rice, Bellingham, and Gallagher.
I'd have
Well, in
Rice.
terms of,
I'd have
I'd
Rice,
have Foden there, but
Bellingham and Foden just to tear them to pieces going forward and press the living daylights out of them.
it's not like Foden refuses to tackle players, is it? It's not like he wouldn't try if he told him to be in the midfield.
Why? My question here is, why do we have to play this one holding midfield, these two holding midfielders?
We don't.
Exactly. So you can still play the 4 formation, the same formation, but just have 2 attacking midfielders instead of.
I mean, Bellingham as an attacking midfielder.
Yeah.
Bellingham pressed the living daylights out of him, like with Foden.
But my attackers that I've got down, these not just wingers, it's strikers as well. I've got Kane, obviously, because that'd be just stupid not to take him, regardless of his case. Kane, Saka, Grealish, Eze, Watkins, Bowen, and Gordon.
Yeah.
You need a balanced midfield. I mean, the ideal thing is have a 6-8 and a 10. Rice is a 6, Bellingham is the box-to-box 8. I mean, you have an attacking midfielder who's a 10. But I think the problem is, Southgate just refuses to do that. And so Foden will be a bit wasted out wide, maybe. But yeah, I pick those 4 wingers. Bowen, of course, has to be in because we're Hull fans. Gordon's had a great season. Rashford hasn't. Saka will start. And
if Rashford gets called up, it's a crime against humanity.
I won't go that far.
Yeah,
It's a bit harsh.
Considering he's one of the few players in the England squad who's actually done something like really positive for humanity.
Well, yeah, he has, to be fair, but his form.
He's not fucking Joey Barton, Jesus Christ.
It's a crime against football, and it would be someone in great form, Bowen, Eze, Palmer, etc. Gordon, who would miss out, undeservedly so.
Someone who just missed out on mine, and it's fine. It's because I've watched him recently, and he's improved recently. And he's someone who's not been there for a while, and it'd be quite a funny reason if he was there, and that's Jadon Sancho.
Oh, Sancho's a brilliant call.
Who are we going to say, Jim?
I said Danny Welbeck, as Will was building.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No, since he's gone back to Dortmund, he's been quite good. It's almost like being away from a place that's incredibly toxic and being in an environment that you enjoy is really good for your football. It's funny that, and it has been for him. And he's got to a Champions League final with them.
You can't be picking players based on immediately recent form like that. And I think he's never done very well in an England shirt. But yeah, he's done well.
But he hasn't had ample opportunities in an England shirt, though, has he? How many caps has he got?
He's had a few, to be fair. He has had a few.
More than 0, which is enough.
More than 0. Jadon Sancho. England caps. Oh, he's got 23 caps, to be fair. How many of those are caps, though?
23.
Interested to see how many of those are starts. Because it won't be many.
I'm shocked by that.
Now I've said my squad, I might as well say what my 11's going to be.
Well, you've not said the strikers, Will.
I said told you my full attackers: Kane, Saka, Grealish, Eze, Watkins, Bowen, Gordon, and that's it.
Did you say Grealish?
In my attack, yeah.
You're picking Grealish?
Yeah.
Why?
Because he's good.
He's not played very much this season, though, has he? I'm not picking Grealish.
He's a player I want on my team if I'm losing by a goal with an hour gone, so I can bring him on so he can just win fouls, so we can pump the box full of the balls.
I think Palmer's done way more than Grealish recently.
Palmer's also in my squad.
True. So, but you're not going to bring them both on, are you?
No. Like I said, I was going to tell you what my starting 11 would be.
All right. Fair enough. Go on.
I'd have Pickford in goal. I'd have Chilwell at left back. Walker at right back. Defensive partnership of Stones and Stones and Gay. I'd have The midfield three, the holder is Rice. Then 2 attacking midfielders of Foden and Bellingham. And then the 3 in front of them, out on the left, I'd have Palmer. Out on the right, I'd have Saka. And in the middle, I'd have Kane.
I mean, I like that squad.
Actually, Palmer can be... Any of those 2 wingers can also be interchanged for Eze for the way he's played recently as well. But that's the one I'm saying.
I've just counted up Jadon Sancho. 11 of his 23 caps have been substitute appearances. And, well, for most of them, the maximum he's played off the bench is 20 minutes in those games.
Solanke was the one. He was the third striker who I didn't pick in the end. Was Solanke.
He'll be on standby, won't he?
Yeah, I'd like to see him go, but I don't think he will.
Are they doing like provisional squad this time? Do you think?
I've no idea. It's meant to be on the 21st. The squad announcement. I've no idea if he's going to pick more than 26 for that thing, but obviously 26 are the one that goes to the Euros. But he's going to do it on the 21st, his squad announcement, so we'll find out an idea of who has been picked. Hopefully
no offence to Solanke, but I would not have him anywhere near the England squad.
Why?
Because before this season, he has been consistently, underperforming his stats, and I feel like this is one of the biggest.
So based on that logic,
I might be proving wrong, but I think it's a one-season wonder. I think.
Yeah, so you're going to pick. So you'd pick Rashford over him then, based on the fact that his previous seasons have been good, but this.
No, that's the complete opposite. Rashford has been really poor, so you wouldn't pick him.
So what? But Solanke's been really good, so why wouldn't you pick him?
I know, but Rashford has been. There's a certain level though, isn't there? So if you excel beyond a certain level, you deserve to get in based on recent form. But if you perform below a certain level, despite previous performances, which is why Sterling and Rashford deserve not to go. Whereas Maguire, for example, maybe he's played a little less, but because he's not been so below the standard, so he would still go, for my view. But yeah, Solanke, to be the third striker again, he's not going to play, but just I don't. How much of it is he a good player or just having a good season?
I mean, in the last 4 seasons, he's scored, I think, 15, 30, then he did 7, then he's done 21.
Yeah,
I consider that a good set of seasons.
You're not
He might be done at the Championship.
You're not picking Championship players for England, are you?
All right, but last 3 Premier League seasons, then what's that? 15, 7, yeah, fair.
And then no. He's only had 2 in the Premier League, 7, and then this season.
Oh yeah, did he have? Were Bournemouth in the champ for 2? Well, were they?
Yeah,
and he still scored loads.
This season he's done very well, but it's 1 season, which is why I wouldn't have him in. However,
surely you want players who are in good form going into a tournament.
Would you pick Ivan Toney over him then? Who's in?
Well, no, but I was just going to say, indeed, I comprehend that he is the 3rd best or highest performing English striker at the moment, because I wouldn't have Toney and Wilson. Well, I wouldn't go against Wilson as a 3rd striker, but I'm just picking 2, so that's why Solanke doesn't get it. Yeah. So I wouldn't have Toney over Solanke. I just wouldn't have Solanke. Is that fair? I don't think that's unreasonable. I mean, it's Dominic Solanke, right? I don't want Dominic Solanke.
It's Dominic Solanke who's had a very good season.
What's this problem you have with having a player who's had a good season?
There are certain hills, rightly or wrongly, I choose to die on. Okay, and that's that I want. Luton to go. That's what I want Luton to go down, and I don't want Solanke in the.
Well, Luton have gone down.
Get in. Happy Luton down day. Yeah. Not because I have anything against them, but just because I'm happy.
Clearly you do.
Just happy that my prediction was correct.
I tell you what, though, had Forest not had points deducted, Luton would have been like over 10 points adrift.
Well, indeed. And that's not exactly on them because they've purposely not gone for it.
Yeah, they were well behind.
But even so. Yeah. Like Bournemouth, they put out a video when they stayed up last season showing off to all the critics who predicted them to finish 20th and get relegated. Look at you an idiot, if we stayed up. And I didn't want that to happen with Luton, so I'm glad they've gone down. Right? I've explained this for the last 3 weeks.
Thought Luton would be looking at a Hull City podcast for prediction.
No, but just general punditry. They were posting those last season. That's the thing that happened. But yeah, my 11 would be Pickford, Chilwell, because he has to kind of be in it. He's like the only left back. Stones, and I'm always a little bit more conservative, so I still would pick Maguire because of that community's formed with the other players. Walker, Rice, Bellingham. Maybe I'd like to say for the group stages, go Foden, and then because we win every game 3-0, hopefully, keep him in. Saka and Kane, and you could rotate the other winger, maybe have a Palmer in there as well. But it would probably be Gallagher and Foden if we were going realistic.
I'm going to go Pickford in goal, back for Coyle, Jones, Greaves, Giles. Midfield, Rice, Bellingham, Foden, with Bowen and Philogene wide and Liam Delap up top.
Nice. I think on that bombshell,
I think that's a winner.
We should wrap this up. We're at 77 minutes. My audio has been terrible, and I'm just getting into my sort of hate speech about Bournemouth and Luton. So time to wrap this up. Well, Joe, thank you very much for putting up with me tonight, and thanks to everyone commenting in. And I'm sure the next episode of Burning Them Back will be a little better, and I'll get a laptop. I'll definitely get a laptop, so you can enjoy that for the next time. Thank you.
See you in the week for Tim Walter.
Well, yeah, hopefully when he's announced, we'll have a chat about him. Well, who knows when that'll be.
That can be to Berlin back or to Hamburg and back for an episode. And I'm looking forward to the Euros. Will, would you do the honours with the outro, please?
No. I refuse.